Hi, my name's Adam,
And my name's Val.
and I'm here to tell my son Val some interesting stories that have happened to me throughout my life. Sometimes creepy, sometimes not. This one is not unless you actually went through it, which I did. So, anyway, I lived in a rural area in Utah County in Provo, almost to Springville, up in the foothills on Ironton Mountain. And my father had a bakery that was in an industrial complex um, on the other side of the train tracks, and in this little bit sketchy area where he did commercial baking for cookies and brownies for convenience stores and things. And one night, we had finished working with him, baking the brownies and cookies and stuff, and packaging them, getting them ready to be delivered. And we went to leave at about 10:30 at night. And my brother-in-law, who is like a brother to me, but he had been into some trouble in the past, and he asked me if I would like to walk home with him. And I said yes. And, it wasn't really far. It was about 2 miles or so, maybe 3. And then on the way home, he decides that he wants to break into a business that was closed down. And I told him, no, you know, I'm not down for that stuff. No, I don't want to steal from anybody. I don't want to break into anybody's business. I'm like, come on, let's go. And he's like, well, no, it's okay. Then you just wait down the road for me. And I was a teenager, and I was like, what the heck do I do? Because this guy is supposed to be my guardian, basically, and he's wanting to break into a place, and I'm not going to. And so he ends up going toward this business, and so I started walking down the road, and then I got, scared. So it was really dark, industrial area, and it was starting to become rural, and so I waited to and looked back to see if he would come, and all of a sudden I hear an alarm go off eventually after I waited for a while, and he goes running down. He's like, there was a cop shining the light on the window, hurry up, go find your dad, go back and find your dad. I'm like, my dad already left. Like, what do I do? And so I ran into this fenced area behind a building, you know, and they had a barbed wire on the top of the fence and everything, and I was trying to follow my brother-in-law, and he jumps over it and ripped his pants and stuff, and I wasn't prepared to rob a place. So I was wearing Levi 501 jeans at the time. It was in the 80s. And I tried to jump up over the fence, and I couldn't get up over the top of it from the top of these pallets. And so I'm like, oh, forget it. So I just ran around and, kind of peeked around the building, and then nobody was coming, so I ran out into a field and ended up at a ditch. And there was a full moon, and you could see the dirt, or what I thought was dirt, at the bottom of the ditch. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is just a, dry ditch. I can jump across it or run through it. So I jumped and I fell into the ditch, and it was really thick mud, really thick, dark mud, and it went about almost up to my waist, and I reached over to climb out, and I had to grab onto a fence that fortunately I was by, that happened to be next, running across the ditch next to me. And so I reached up, climbed the fence, pulled myself out of the ditch, and then I was at a junction of the train tracks. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just walk along the train tracks, because I know they go up toward my house. And so I went and started walking up the train tracks that went toward my house. And all of a sudden I started hearing shuffling around and everything. And the train cars were shifting, like creaking and stuff. And I like panicked, and I looked over to my left, and there was like an overhanging tree, and underneath was a tent where people had been sleeping under that tree. And I'm like, oh crap, this is like a homeless camp or whatever. So I walked back slowly and as quietly as I could, and went back to the junction and walked the other way on the tracks where there was no train cars. And walked through that, and I ended up swinging across a pole that was attached to an old wire fence that was really weak, and everything had stretched out, and the pole barely got me over to the other side of the street, where I was able to walk the rest of the industrial area and finally get home after a nightmarish, existence. And yeah, so I ended up making it home. Eventually my brother-in-law made it home and told me that he ran through some barbed wire, and it ripped up his pants and everything. And he tried to give me some of the money that he got from stealing from the place, which was like a few dollars. And I'm like, for one thing, I'm not a thief, and for another thing, I don't want your damn money, and I'm never following you home again. And so anyway, that's how that went. So it was really weird, strange night. But that's my story. Take it or leave it, I guess. Bye.